They called it in a very evocative way, the Night of the Long Knives. But more than a single night, it was a purge, or rather it was something, a real cleansing, which foreshadowed what would be more than 10 years of total darkness for the country. Germany coming out of a long post-war crisis. The Night of the Long Knives takes place between June 29 and 30, 1934. In the end, it's about settling scores. Not like those in Maravita, the classic duel at the hockey corral, or the St. Valentine's Day massacre, but something extremely well planned to eliminate every inconvenient opponent, both inside and outside. On June 29, 1934, in a place near Munich, a spa town, a place for treatment, a place we could say also for vacation, the leaders of the Sturmabteilung, the brown shirts, arrive. The lower ranks, we could say, of the Nazi regime that is emerging. And we see it's 1934. Not long ago, Adolf Hitler managed to convince the old president of the Reich, General Paul von Hindenburg, to give him the chancellorship. That position he had been chasing for so many years, and that after the failed Munich Putsch, he had pursued in a legal way, via elections and maneuvering, such as parades. Well, Hitler is finally chancellor, but that's not enough for him. He can't clearly remove all of the old Weimar Republic yet. Hindenburg is the last obstacle, but Hindenburg is ill. It's known that he doesn't have much time left to live. The real problem for Adolf Hitler isn't exactly Weimar. There are some old grudges he's left behind, some problems even within his own party. One of these problems, the biggest problem, is the Sturmabteilung, and especially their leader, Ernst Röhm, a man who had been a friend and collaborator of Hitler since the very beginning. When Hitler joins the Deutsche Arbeiterpartei Drexler's Deutsche Arbeiterpartei, which he will later restructure as the StAPT, Röhm is with him as well. They are two of the first 20 members of the party. Hitler, who at the time is still derogatorily called the Austrian house painter, is a failed artist, a war veteran who fought with a Bavarian regiment in Flanders. Röhm, who is a former infantry captain, after the war took command of a Freikorps, one of the underground military formations that suppress trade unionist and communist movements right in Bavaria. There is an immediate sympathy between the two, but after a while, the first crack appears. Why in the Munich Putsch? The Putsch of the Burger Brokeller, the Putsch of Bavaria. What did Hitler get? Just house arrest? Römer Fortress also has the benefit of his military past. He gets a full acquittal. He doesn't spend a single day in jail. And that's exactly when the first split happens. In fact, Römer disappears for a while. He goes to Bolivia and becomes a military instructor for the local army. In 1930, Röhm returns to Germany, called back by Hitler, who in the meantime has not only been released from prison, but has also published his memoir, Mein Kampf, which has become a bestseller, and a guide for political action. Hitler, who at that moment is making his move for power using democratic systems, electoral systems. But Hitler needs something, a push that can come from below, a necessary push through a spiral of violence. And who better than the Sturmabteilung, who better than Ernst Röhm, who created the Sturmabteilung, can give that push? For years, the Sturmabteilung have had free rein to do whatever they want. They attack other parties' headquarters and assault people in the streets. The political leaders of the other groups, they fight with the unionists, with the Reds, with the communists. They attack the election committees. In short, It's that spiral of violence that Hitler wants and that causes more and more uncertainty in the country. Not only that, it also causes the rise in support for the National Socialist Party, a party that in just a few years grows exponentially, to the point that President Hindenburg tries in every way not to give the chancellorship. First, he appoints a Catholic, von Papen, who tries to neutralize Hitler by offering a position to his number two, Gerhard Strasse, leader of what we could call the left wing, the more, if not progressive, revolutionary wing. Exactly. Von Papen, however, fails in his task, and Strasse is expelled from the National Party. Then it's up to General von Steiger, a military man who is also a bureaucrat. Steiger is more subtle. He offers Hitler the vice-chancellorship, giving him the opportunity to participate in the government. Hitler is a fox. Gradually, through his political advisors, he puts von Schleicher in the minority, who, furthermore, does not represent a supposedly secular party, who, above all, has to put together a makeshift majority in the Reichstag each time, one that's all too cobbled together. In the last elections, Hitler wins. He doesn't win by a landslide because clearly he doesn't have an absolute majority on his own. A third of parliament is his. And his deputies all wear the brown shirt of the Sturmabteilung. They're not from the Sturmabteilung, but it's a signal that he's sending. Germany is heading into a period. They say of revanchism, meaning a search for that revenge, that payback, against France primarily, but also England, the nations that defeated and humiliated her in the Great War. However, even with Ratto's support, Hitler still can't get the full powers he wants. The first step is the Reichstag fire, a fire that is still debated today about its true nature. Whether it was an act of provocation, whether it was actually an attack carried out by an external agent, or whether it was Hitler himself or someone close to him. To order that fire, to obtain the casus belli, to obtain full powers, bypassing constitutional procedures. Everything is going smoothly except for Hitler, whose problem is the Sturmabteilung. That problem is Ernst Röhm, who is absolutely not satisfied with what has been given to Hitler. Röhm wants more. He would even like to replace the Reichswehr, the armed forces of the Republic, with the Sturmabteilung, to abolish that whole old class of generals raised by the old von Sect, who shaped a modern army, even within the restrictions of the Treaty of Versailles, and to replace it with more than 2 million militiamen in brown shirts, even equipping them with camps, if not the first armored vehicles. A fully fledged army, something that Hitler doesn't look favorably upon. But above all, the old establishment of the Weimar Republic doesn't look favorably upon it. The leaders of the Reichswehr are extremely opposed to Ernst Röhm and to these attempts to make a leap forward on a strictly military level. Conservative circles and even industrialists don't look favorably upon Röhm, not only because his Sturmabteilung are pushy, quarrelsome, and impossible to control, but also because Röhm and his closest associates are homosexuals. It's widely known, it's a scandal. And the fact that Hitler ignores all this doesn't work in favor of the new chancellor. And that's why, for some time now within the staff, Hitler no longer trusts the Sturmabteilung. Those Sturmabteilung that were initially even his personal bodyguard are relegated to low ranks. The new bodyguard of Hitler is a military or paramilitary corps dressed in black with 2 twin lightning bolts. They are the SS, the creation of Heinrich Himmler, and within the SS a special unit is born, the Leibstandarte, which is the personal bodyguard corps. Who removed Hitler? Joseph Sepp Dietrich commands it and will later become general of the armored troops of the same Waffen-SS. And it is led in the field by two brutes. One is named Theodor Egg, the other is Hitler's personal driver himself, Emil Morris. They are two men, Heike and Morris, who have Hitler's full trust. Not only Morris has a debt of honor with Hitler. It's a very delicate matter. Emil Morris had attracted the attention of Angela Gelly, Hitler's favorite niece, whom it was rumored that there was an incestuous relationship with her uncle, would die. Also the man who, after she died, of Gelly, officially by suicide, covers for the future Führer and provides him with alibis. It's a very delicate relationship between Morris and Hitler. That's why Hitler trusts that large man who serves as both his driver and bodyguard. Let's go back to June 29, 1934. For several days now, near Munich, the Sturmabteilung have been gathering for their usual annual meeting. First of all, the leaders and chiefs arrive, Ernst Röhm and his associates officially for spa treatments. Röhm has arranged to meet Hitler the following day, June 30, 1934, and Seiford. A face-to-face talk to decide what to do, whether to dissolve the Sturmabteilung, whether Röhm and his men should leave the party, or whether to start a new phase of what is called the National Socialist Revolution. But on the evening of June 29, 1934, Hitler has already prepared a plan. For some time, he has sought the support of General von Blomberg, the supreme commander of the Reichswehr, who, reassured by Hitler's intention to eliminate Ernst Röhm once and for all, has given him a free hand. Hitler has also spoken with the other parties and with, above all, the industrialists. They are excited about the idea of getting rid of that noisy crowd that only causes worry and trouble. On June 29, 1934, Adolf Hitler arrived with the Leibstandarte. With the full force and supported by heavy machine guns and a couple of armored cars, he arrives at the boarding house in Munich, where Ernst Röhm and his associates are staying. And it is Hitler himself, accompanied by Hayek and Moritz, who kicks down the door to Röhm's room. Pistol in hand, Hitler throws Röhm out of bed. "Get up, you're under arrest," he shouts at Röhm. He doesn't understand and stands at attention half naked. He claims he's ready for orders but is handcuffed and taken away. In the other rooms where the other leaders are, some are arrested, those who are caught in bed with prostitutes. It is said that most of the LSA leadership is made up of homosexuals. They are killed and shot on the spot. What is called the Night of the Long Knives. An internal reckoning within the Nazi Party isn't limited to that Munich boarding house. It occurs nationwide. The leaders of the Sturmabteilung still. Commanders of various units are immediately replaced, arrested, and replaced by others. Someone more compliant, someone of proven loyalty. But even outside the Sturmabteilung sphere, the SS's repressive machine is set in motion. Journalists who had written uncomfortable articles or strong criticisms of Hitler in previous years are targeted. They are arrested, taken to prison, beaten to death, or shot. General von Schleicher, Hitler's predecessor as chancellor, is killed at his home along with his young wife. His only crime is simply being a man of power, having previously tried to oppose Hitler. Georg Strasser is also killed. He is killed because, according to Hitler, he was a traitor. He had tried to make a deal with von Pape to remove Hitler from power. So he also pays the price, and a Lutheran pastor, who was Gelly's confessor, also pays the price. And maybe he knew a little too much about that troubled relationship with the chancellor. And the one who had been the young niece, his sister's daughter, is also swept away. Hitler cleans house within 24 hours. All his opponents Die, they die in bed, they die at their doorstep, they die in cells. Ernst Röhm is taken to the camp, locked up without an explanation. After a few hours there, Theodor Heike enters his cell and leaves him a revolver with only one bullet in the chamber. Do you know what to do? Kill them? Röhm's answer is scornful. If Hitler wants me dead, let him come here and kill me with his own hands. Heike gives him 10 minutes to handle it. 15 minutes later, he returns to the cell. The pistol is still on the stool. And Röhm doesn't want to do it. At that moment, Theodor Heike grabs the revolver and shoots him in the chest, in the heart. Ernst Röhm, who is a symbol of a Mein Führer. Those are his last words. He collapses to his knees and dies. It's the end of the Night of the Long Knives, a purge that costs hundreds dead in Germany. The operation is presented by Hitler as a internal purge against a fringe of possible extremists who wanted a coup d'etat, who wanted to put him in the minority, maybe even kill him. The Sturmabteilung is told a convenient lie. They are told that Röhm, besides being a pig and a traitor, wanted to kill Hitler. It wasn't true. The Sturmabteilung militiamen are given the opportunity to join the SS, not the army. The Reichswehr, soon to be the Wehrmacht, doesn't want them. Those who accept swap their brown shirt for the black shirt, the one of the SS with the twin lightning bolts. Everything is now ready for the regime change. Only one obstacle remains: President Paolo Fomenny. Lindenberg, as mentioned, is ill, very ill. He has long since retired to his private residence on August 2nd, 1934. Lindenberg closes his eyes for the last time, and from that moment on, Germany slips at the speed of light toward the abyss. Hitler calls for a very quick referendum to ask the Germans if they intend to support his policy, a radical change, a referendum that turns out almost like a plebiscite. The Germans say yes to him, they trust him, they have confidence. In that shouting Austrian with a hypnotic gaze and characteristic mustache, who has addressed them several times and who has conquered their hearts and minds, Hitler abolishes. The offices of President of the Reich and Chancellor are merged, making it less common. The state, the old Weimar Republic, dies. It dies right after President Fomenny. It dies because all the structures of the state are reformed from that internal tumor that had grown and developed. In the end, it destroys the Republic. An internal tumor called Nazism. A long, very long night begins, a night that lasts 11 years. Until the Götterdämmerung, the twilight of the gods, until that April of 1945, when in the bunker. Under the Reich Chancellery in Berlin, Hitler will kill himself. They will be 11 terrible years, 11 years of repression, crimes, spies, massacres, restrictions, persecution of Jews, and many other minorities. 11 years that will culminate in the Second World War. 11 years of nightmare. A nightmare that began on the night of the Long Knives and was destined to plunge an entire country into hell.